Okay, I'm a kid that you would build car models, lots and lots of car models. And I got used to little fake pieces that were different parts of cars and putting them together. Like there's an air cleaner and you stick that on top of the motor. And then there's wheels and you put those on the axles. And then there's a chrome bumper. And you stick that chrome bumper, one on the front, one on the back. As a little kid, I'm always learning about car parts. And then for years and years, I became a self-taught antique car mechanic. And I would spend a lot of time talking to good mechanics and asking them questions, because I'm worried about the details and worry about things that can go wrong, and concerned about a job that I'd never done before. I mean, I'm reading all the instructions. I know how to handle some wrenches, but still I'm taking a lot of time to research. Okay, so I'm a car guy. Now, that which is resisted persists. If you are pushing away from you certain things, if you are avoiding certain issues and topics, the topics that you avoid actually are becoming the biggest thing, because you're working so hard not to talk about or think about or look at that certain thing that you're avoiding. That's that beautiful Eastern saying, that which is resisted persists. That means that the things that you're avoiding or pushing away from your mind, and you can push things out of your mind, and you can forbid conversation about certain things. You can totally prohibit certain issues from being discussed. Okay, so let's just put it in car terms. All right, let's pretend we all have cars, but brakes. We're avoiding brakes. We're completely embarrassed by brakes. We're nervous about brakes, and if we bring up the issue of talking about brakes, everybody in the room is going to get weird, and some people are going to walk out of the room, and maybe one or two people are like, oh, well, you know, it's kind of uncomfortable to talk about brakes, but I've really had some problems and I'm not really sure what to do. What do you know about brakes? So if we're just avoiding the issue of brakes, what's going to happen? A lot more people are going to have failed brakes, and there's going to be a lot more car wrecks. Because perhaps, I mean, like, if people are so nervous about talking about brakes, when they pull into an auto shop, and everybody is not talking about brakes, then maybe we'll just avoid checking the brakes and maintaining the brakes, or figuring out how the brakes work, or getting a perspective on brake repairs. What if we're just totally avoiding thinking about and talking about and communicating about brakes? The potential problems would be many, 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 many. Because brakes are an essential lifesaver. I mean, lifesaver. If you look at the progression of brakes, mechanical brakes, good old mechanical brakes on the Model A Ford, you push your foot down and it's pulling some levers. Those levers are moving brake shoes, pressing them outwards on a spinning brake drum. And the car slows down. The brake drum is attached to the axle and is spinning at the exact speed as the axle, and it's bolted up to the axle So the brake drum is spinning as fast as the tire is. And then you've got this special set of brake shoes that pushes outward and creates friction against the brake drum that's spinning around, or the pie-shaped brake rotor for the caliper. So let's just pretend that we're all afraid of talking about brakes. There's going to be a lot of problems. And like the whole world is going to be a mess. Pretend like all of the community is afraid of talking about brakes. Now, this is the essence of the clitoris and Christianity. The clitoris is just part of our collective human anatomy, like an ear. Happy Sunday. And so what? In 1998, I don't know whether the globalists actually allowed this research to happen and be exposed, or whether it was just a true scientific discovery that bubbled up. But in 1998, they discovered the true form and shape of the clitoris inside of our wonderful woman form. We are one collective body that fits together like a puzzle, and that's nice. So, the clitoris is what I like to call, in street terms, a big stiffy on the inside. It's erectile tissue. It gets big, 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 and it just happens to lie along the inner thighs of the woman form, and it actually also surrounds the sword sheath, which is what the word vagina, that's what the word vagina means. It means sword sheath. That's the term. The word is a descriptive term. So the clitoris surrounds the sword sheath, and it gets big, big, big. And then it gets small, small, small. If you look at the male penis, which is small, 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 very interesting tiny button, if you pay attention to it in the proper way for long enough, it will get big, 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 much bigger. You know, whatever, 4 or 5 times bigger or more than when at rest. So you picture the clitoris inside of the wonderful woman body, and it's small and it can get big, big, big. Okay, so that's just equipment. All right, that is equipment. And if we realize that the pleasure, the pleasantness of coming together, the two of us coming together, that pleasure is very, very marvelous. And it's a passionate, wonderful thing. But if we can follow some of the wisdom of the ancients and say, let us not awaken the arousal, the desire of our bodies and our minds until it is time. If we follow that wisdom, we will be way less likely to get caught into insanity. I mean, human beings get insane when it comes to whatever. Eating too many cookies, chocolate cake, spending too much time in the swimming pool when there's other things to do. Human beings can actually be entrapped by their pleasures and their passions. And that's not something to go crazy and negative and scolding about. And for the people who really care about one another as friends, hey, if you're supposed to have a person of your own to enjoy, we ought to help you figure out who that person's going to be. That ought to be partly our job. But then we do have to figure out what our overall job in life is, and what our purpose is, and what our goals are. Because a lot of times, man, I'm telling you, it is really wise to put off your pleasures in order to work towards a really more pleasurable goal. And so a lot of people treat me like a piece of trash, and they hate me, and they slander me and scold me because I had become interested in researching the afterlife and the spirit realm and the spirit beings in the invisible realm starting in 1994. I began a respectful, intense research that lasted officially for 24 years, but has been continuing for the past 28 years. I have been on an affectionate tour of the wisdom regarding the afterlife and the spirit realm. And now, with the clitoris and Christianity, I'm using a pleasant and creative and catchy title to get people's interest, so I can just basically tell them the stuff that I've learned, because I've learned a ton of cool stuff. I set aside my fast cars and motorcycles for a while. I set aside my diner tours and some of my fancy costumes and stuff for a while, and decided to just be in a primary focus on the afterlife and the spirit realm, and hang out with people that are wise about that stuff. So now, as I share what I've learned, even some of my favorite people treat me like trash and like I'm some kind of evil person. So let's talk about the real stuff and raise up a new generation of people, young people, who actually know how to handle things, especially as the globalists get more and more ugly. Happy Sunday! Yahoo!